Hi, welcome to Camp Happy Mail, and welcome to the first Saturday of Christmas in July. Every year for Christmas, we send out between 85 cards, roughly. And a lot of times I make individual cards for those. But this year I decided I'm going to batch make my cards, just to make it a little bit easier, I should say. So what that means is I'm going to come up with probably 10 different card designs and make 8 of each card, or I might come up with 8 card designs and make 10 of each card. I haven't quite decided yet. We'll see how today goes, and then I'll decide. So for today's cards, while I was sleeping last night, I went to bed thinking about Christmas in July. And oftentimes when I do that, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have an idea for card designs. And that's what happened last night. So I got up last night, and by the light of my camera, my phone, I came up with a plan for what I was going to do today, and that's what this is. So basically, the supplies I'm going to use today. I have a retired set from Stampin' Up. This is Poinsettia Petals, and it has matching dies to it. I'm probably going to use the dies. I don't know that I'm going to use the actual stamp set. I've got a Happy Holidays and a Merry Christmas dies. These are from scrapbook.com. This is going to be my main sentiments for on the front of the card. I've got various nested dies to use just to help to jazz up the background panels. All of my cards are going to be an A2 size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I've got some inks by Catherine Polar, and I've also got some by Stampin' Up. I haven't decided yet which ones I'm going to use. They're both basically the same shades. I have a stamp by Gina K Designs. This is the Petite Flourish stamp. Absolutely one of my most favorite background stamps, and I apologize for the glare. My shooting light is directly above my space, and that's what the glare is that's going across here, and I apologize for that. I'll try to tilt things so you can see them. And then I've got some embossing powders, because I am going to do some heat embossing in various powders. I've got a Gilded Gold. This is by Brutus Monroe, and I also have Alabaster White by Brutus Monroe, my favorite white. And then I have a silver, which is an unknown brand that I've had forever, pretty much. And then I have an Altenew Crystal Clear. This tray is from Recollections. I don't know if Michael still sells these or not, but if you can get your hands on one of these, it's a great thing to have, because it's got a hole up here, and that's what you use after you've dumped your powder on your stamped image. Then you just tilt it, and using that hole, you can dump the powder back into the container. And then I've got some cardstock. This is a shimmer gold paper, and I've got 4 sheets of white, 2 sheets of green, and 2 sheets of red. These are Stampin' Up paper. This is accent opaque white paper. And this is an Astro Bright series paper. I don't remember the exact name of it. It came from Staples or Home Depot. And it's got just a little bit of a shimmer to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the prep work ahead of time for these. And then I'll come back and actually show some of the stamping and the heat embossing and maybe some of the assembly. So let me save us some time and get some of the prep work done ahead of time, and I'll be back. All right, so I have finished the prep work of all of the sentiments. We got some Happy Holidays and we got some Merry Christmas ones, and of some poinsettias. I didn't realize how long the prep work was going to take me, because the dies from scrapbook.com, although beautiful, and I do love them and I'm going to keep them, the words are not all one piece. Like Christmas is actually 3 different pieces, and Happy Holidays is HAP, and then a P, and then a Y, and then Holid and A's are all separate. So my original plan was I was going to double these up as far as like the colored part goes. But after it taking me a good 2 hours just to do these parts and to put these together, I decided to just go with 1 layer. And 1 layer is going to be perfectly fine. So now we're going to move on to the next part of this, which is preparing the main panels that the sentiments are going to go on. And to do that, I've cut my cardstock into 6x6 pieces. my rubber stamp. Again, this is the Petite Flourish stamp from Gina K Designs. It is a little more than 6 inches, so I did 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. I won't need this entire panel for my cards because my cards, again, are an A2 size card, which means that there's going to be pieces left over that hopefully I will be able to use on Christmas cards later in this series. Now, I've got 2 red, 2 green, and I believe 4 white. Yeah, 4 white ones. So we're going to do a couple of different things with these. Again, I've got some gold and some silver and some clear and some white. The gold and silver I'm going to use on these. There will be one of each for each the red and the green. I'm going to use the white and the clear on these for the purpose of we might ink blend or do some ink smooshing or something on these to give them a mixed media look. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and I also did pull out Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment Ink, which I'll be using with the Alabaster White Powder. And I pulled out Versamark, which I'll be using with probably the gold and the silver, most likely. And yeah, let's just go from there and see where we end up. So I am going to use my Misty to stamp these, just in case I need to stamp more than one time. And actually with the Misty, you don't need the foam pad in here because this has a foam pad on it. So we'll take that out. Make sure that's in our corner. And let's go ahead and let's do the silver ones first. So I am going to ink this up with just VersaFine Clear, or Versamark Clear rather. Let me get this ready. And one thing I forgot to do was I forgot to put the anti-static powder on this. So we'll go ahead and do that so we only get the ink where we want it. And I am going to use this stamping tool just to give it some light pressure, nothing real hard. You don't have to be crazy about it. And I am going to do this one more time just to be sure that we got everything. Okay, and now we will put our silver embossing powder over this. You can use any embossing powders that you have. This silver I've had forever. I don't even know what brand it is. Probably something generic from Michael's, most likely. and we can see our pattern on there. And I'm going to set this one aside, and I'm going to do the other one, and then we'll heat emboss both of them at the same time, or one right after the other. Okay, and then just the same process again. And I forgot to powder this one, but that's okay. We're just gonna go with it. Hopefully it'll work out okay. Okay, and now we'll add the powder to this one. Now I use a Wagner heat tool. You can get these at Home Depot or Lowe's. You can use whatever heat tool that you have. I'm going to go ahead and heat this up for a good 30 seconds or so. I am going to turn the sound off for this part so you don't have to listen to it. Now, this is the one that I did not use the anti-static powder on, and I did get a drag of some of the powder down here, but it's okay because we can crop the card base around that. So let's go ahead and set up to do the gold embossing powder now. And again, we're going to do a red one and a green one each in gold. Now we'll go ahead and heat these ones up to melt the embossing powder on these. There's our two gold panels. And now this is going to seem a little crazy, but we're going to do some white on white and then some clear on white. I did this process of the clear embossing powder on the white paper and the white embossing powder on the white paper 2 times each. But I cut that footage because you really can't see the powder even once it's embossed on those papers. And so to save us some time, I took that footage out. Okay, so that's all of our panels done. We have 2 in white, 2 in clear, 2 in gold, and 2 in silver. And I'm going to get all this cleaned up and then we'll move on to the next part. So it occurred to me after I cleaned everything up that I only did 8. 4 and 4 is 8, but I assembled enough sentiments and enough poinsettias to do 10 cards. So I'm going to keep the same design, but I'm going to do something a little different and do 2 more panels. And these ones we're going to do 1 in red and 1 in green. So although all 10 cards will have the same basic design, they'll still look a little different, which is kind of what I'm going for. So let's go ahead and quickly get these ones done. Now, one thing I'm going to do a little differently is the inks I'm using, these are dye inks. And they don't give you a whole lot of time to do embossing. So I'm going to do the first coating in the color, clean off the stamp, and then stamp with Versamark, and then do the embossing. And this time for the embossing powder, instead of using the Alta Nu clear powder, we're going to use some Brutus Monroe Icicle. I don't remember if this comes out with kind of a glittery look to it or why it's called Icicle, but we're gonna find out. And we're gonna use some Cranberry Fizz. This is Catherine Polar inks. And these are pretty juicy because I just re-inked these not very long ago. So I probably won't have to do 2 coatings of the color on this. And maybe we will, just for in here. Maybe I can get more off of this. Let's see. Okay, that's a little better. You want to make sure that your stamp is good and clean before you use your Versamark on it so you don't stain your Versamark pad. So just as before, I'm going to use the Versamark ink pad and I'm going to ink up this stamp. Because we've already stamped it in red, the Versamark is just going to put a coating of sticky ink over top of the red. By doing this with the Versamark, this means that I can heat emboss over top of that red, and it will give the look like it was actually heat embossed in red. I'm not really a big fan of using colored embossing powders because I tend to make a mess with them. Most likely user error. Okay, and I'm going to set this one aside, and I'm going to cut another piece and then do the other one in green. So the next thing I'm going to do in the process is I'm going to take the ones that I heat embossed in white and clear, and I've divided these up so I have a set of each of them. And I'm going to ink pounce these, one in red, one in green. So we'll do this set in green, we'll do this set in red. If this turns out the way that I'm expecting it to, it should have kind of a neat effect to it. And these are both clean, they're just stained from ink. So we'll start with the white one. I am going to go darker on some areas than other areas. I don't want them to be solid panels. So now we're going to take a paper towel. We're going to wipe the excess ink off of the embossed areas. This is another way that you can achieve the same kind of patterns as the other ones. If you don't have color cardstock, you can definitely use ink to color your cardstock. It is a little messier, but you're also able to get the effect of not having perfectly blended background as well. So that was the white one. I did white and clear because I wanted to do an experiment to see if you would be able to see a difference. So that's the white, and then this was clear on white paper, so it should preserve the white paper behind it. And we'll see if there's much of a difference between the clear and the white. But this is just to give you some options depending on what kind of powder you have. And again, we'll wipe this one off. So up close, the main difference that I see between the two is that the lines on the clear embossing powder are much more smoother than on the white embossing powder, which is interesting. I'm not sure if maybe I didn't heat this one long enough or maybe it was heated too much. But this has, there's more texture to this. It looks almost like the lines are dotted, which is still an interesting effect. I like how both of them came out, and I like how they kind of have a worn look to them because they're darker in some places and lighter in other places. And now I can't wait to see what the green is going to look like. So I am going to set these aside to dry for quite a while because they are pretty saturated. So this is the white and this is the clear. And the white lines are definitely a lot more splotchier than what they are for the clear. The clear, the lines are so much more fine. It's probably just the difference in powder. I do like how both of them turned out. And again, I intentionally made these with dark spots and light spots on them. And I know it's an optical illusion, but the white and the clear actually look kind of like a mint green, which I think is really pretty. They almost look like fabric to me. And while they're pretty heavily saturated, so we're gonna let these dry and then we'll move on to the next step of this process. So these panels are still drying, but I decided that before they completely dry, the white ones, I'm gonna do something extra to those. These ones, the clear ones, I'm gonna leave these ones as they are and just let them dry. Now what I have here is some homemade shimmer spray. This is water mixed with Liquitex iridescent paint, I guess you could say. I'll put a link to it in the description. A couple drops of that in some water and it creates a really nice shimmer spray. So I'm gonna pretty much saturate these to give them a shimmer and then we'll let them dry from there. Now it is going to be hard to see this shimmer on camera, but I promise you it's there and it is gorgeous. And the paper is buckling because they are heavily saturated. But it just gives it a little extra sparkle, and I don't know if you can see that or not. And these will flatten out once they're dry. So the next step in this process, now that we have our backgrounds done, I have pulled out some specialty paper out of my stash. This all comes from Amazon or scrapbook.com. I'll leave links in the description below. I am going to cut out mats for these. This die is from Pink Fresh Studios, and it is called the Folk Edge Rectangles, and each of the backgrounds is going to be backed onto a background that has a decorative edge around it. And then I've pulled out a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die to cut out my background pieces from. And again, I am going to save all of the scrap pieces from these to use on other cards. So let me get these cut and then we'll come back and look at all the pieces, and then I will assemble the cards and we'll come back a second time and look at everything completely done. Okay, we're back, and these are the pieces for our 10 cards. Admittedly, the prep work and all of the die cutting took easily 4.5 hours to do. Most of that time was spent assembling these, and I discussed that earlier, why those took so long. The background panels that will go on the card bases. Yes, of course, I did my trick where I took out the centerpiece so that I could save that for other cards. This panel will go on top of this so that we'll cover that up, and then the rest of the card will come together. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble these, and then I'll come back and show you the final cards. And I also wanted to share with you, these are the scrap pieces that are left over. I had some extra sentiment pieces. I had one extra little flower that I cut too big. Had some strips off of these, which I intentionally did these bigger so that I could use them on other cards, because I do have 80 cards to make. Then there were some smaller strips, and I just went ahead and put these on with double-sided adhesive, and I'll use this as a background on a card. Same thing with this one. This was some of the smaller strips, and I did the Bargello technique on this, and that will get used on a card. And then the stripes from the panels that I cut out here, there was excess, and I just put them on here, and I'll probably die cut some sentiments out of these. And then this was the rest of the specialty paper. This was left over from the flowers, but this was what's left of the specialty paper, the 10 sheets that I use here. These little ones were the panels that were cut out of the centers. Perfect size to use on another card. And then these will get used as well. So let me go ahead and get these assembled, and then I'll come back and share. All right, so let's talk cards. These 10 cards admittedly took far longer to actually get them finished, created, the whole thing, than what I originally anticipated. I thought this would be a day or two to get these done. It is literally a week later. Granted, I didn't work on them every single day, but 2 of the days were weekend days, and I did spend the majority of those days cutting pieces and assembling pieces and doing the heat embossing. And the background die that I used here is pretty intricate. And the glitter cardstock is really thick. And although I used shims and I ran it back and forth several times through the die cut machine, it still did not actually die cut out properly. All the little white spaces you see, I had to actually use my pokey tool to poke each one of those out individually. Mind you, there are 10 cards here that I did that on. So that alone took a lot of time. I am not disappointed that I spent the time to do these. I would do it again. I may make more of these because I really like how they turned out. But just know that if you're going to do this exact design using the exact stuff that I used, which is all linked below, it is going to take you some time to do them. It's not something you're just going to be able to whip out in one day. So these are the cards. There are 10 of them. They have the exact same design on all 10, but because of the different embossing powders that I used and the difference between the red and the green, no 2 cards are exactly the same. So this is what we have. So this is the first one with the silver embossed background on it. And then we have a green one that's silver embossed on the background. And then a green one with gold embossed on the background. And this one was white embossed and then spritzed with shimmer spray. This was stamped in green and then embossed in clear. This one was stamped in red and then embossed in clear. This one was heat embossed in white and then shimmer sprayed. And this was heat embossed in white over top of, and then we ink blended the red on top of this. We smooshed or paper pounced, whatever you want to call it. And then this one was the green version of this, where we had heat embossed in white and then used the picket fence paper pouncer to pounce the ink onto it. And then the last one was the red with the gold. And that is our 10 cards. So I hope you got some ideas for how to batch make a set of cards. It's almost like the assembly line process where you do all the steps in stages. And overall, I'm super happy with how they came out. And that's 10 down, 70, yeah, roughly 70 more to go. I can't promise that all of my July videos are going to be Christmas card videos because I have some other things that I want to do. I am going to be making Christmas cards all of July just to get ahead a little bit because 80 is too many to try to make in the fall. But there might be another Christmas card video or two in the month of July, but I don't know that all of my videos are going to be Christmas cards. But anyways, so that's it for today. Thank you for sticking around with me through this rather long video. I hope you'll give this a try. I mean, I think the cards turned out really beautiful. Nothing that I would be ashamed to send out to anybody on our list. And I hope you'll give it a try because the process is easy. It's just time consuming. But if you have the time, it's definitely worth it. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next video.